Hello and welcome back to the Comic Lounge for another episode of the Lounge Discussion, which has pretty much now become a newer series or whatever, just a newer sort of segment for the channel here where I can talk about other things that are not related to comics but aren't really me talking about what I got in. This is all topical. It can be anything. So while the first episode, what kicked off this series was pretty much me talking about if Key Collect, has killed comics. Again, you can still watch that. But this other one, I think, might fare better than compared to that one. Now, that's not to say that I'm going to backtrack on everything I said in my previous one. But what I am going to do for this one is talk about, I think, what everyone is obviously usually for newer comic book collectors or readers, anyone who's younger than me, that are getting into the hobby and want to ask about stuff. This is going to be one I think everyone should at least tune in to watch, because of this is going to be, I think, more so vital to you rather than the ones who've been in it for the game. And me, I'm 30 years old. I'm going to be 31 this year. But anyone who's over my age, like anyone who's even close to my dad's age, this is not for them. This ain't for the ones who've been in it for longer. For them, they're obviously probably going to agree with this. However, what this will be good. It's going to be vital to the ones who are brand new, who are getting into the hobby. Anyone. The younger ones are the ones who never really got into it to begin with, but want to get into it for the fun of it. And what I'm talking about is what matters the most when it comes to buying. What matters the most? Is it the price? Or is it the condition? Now, what really sparked this topic for me is what I just recently got in the mail. Now, before I show it, I think it was last year, I did a video talking about HipComic. Now, I was mostly talking about the value, the price guide value, whatever, a section of HipComic. And where I basically went through the things that were on point with when it comes to their value for the respective conditions, or where they were off on the value of certain conditions. This is not that. So, with HipComic, while it's usually a site that can be used for everyone to try and price up their books, where they can tell what the value is for their collection, what is the value of their books, whatever, what is it? Usually people will use it for a price guide besides, let's say, Key Collectors or whatever is being sold on eBay. Usually whatever you get sold on eBay is never going to reflect the actual value of any book. It's never going to reflect the prices on, Key Collectors, and it's never really going to reflect the prices or the value of stuff that usually what HipComic thinks. But HipComic is also a site that gets used for selling. Now, there are, just like eBay, there are auctions stuff, while there's also stuff that's strictly buy it now. It's same as with eBay. But as I was looking for a particular Batman book, now I had recently got, I've been getting into the Deathstroke, the Terminator series, the newest one, not the older one. Again, I love the older one, but I mainly, as I was, been reading the newer series that was through DC's Next Level initiative, again from writer Tony Fleeks and artist Carmine Di Giandomenico. There was at least a character. Now, here's the thing. When I as I stated in my last video, I also tend to, and it's usually a good thing a good strategy for those who want to get into the hobby, which is pick a character, any character that you like, and collect that character. And sometimes you can focus on getting that collector, that character, I mean. You can focus on that. Well, there was a character who popped up in one of the flashback scenes, and they obviously was a character that went by the name the Black Spider. If you're obviously familiar, it was it's sort of a character that gets considered a villain, but at times they've also been explored as an anti-hero, and it was a character created by the late Jerry Conway after he had left Marvel Comics, and he basically wanted a character that was similar to the Punisher, the character that he had created for Marvel Comics. So it's very debated or argued if he didn't steal from another character or another creator, whatever, that wasn't from Marvel Comics. You can always read up on that. Either way, he wanted to see if he can, commit to lightning in a bottle again, and he created the Black Spider for Batman. Now, he was also a character of color, and I mean literally a person of color. He was a black character. And again, he was more closer to like a dark vigilante character like the Punisher. But again, he piqued my interest, and so I went on, online, whatever, trying to see if I can get a copy of his very first appearance, which is 463. But which usually this particular comic also gets tied with being the first appearance of the Calculator, and it will be found in the bonus Adam story that was usually DC did that a lot though in the 70s and throughout into the 80s before the everything happened after Crisis on Infinite Earths. So usually DC would always add in a bonus short story. So a comic would at least have 15 pages for the main story, while the remaining would be like for a bonus character, And so that's where that is, and usually the book gets priced around $20. At least I will be able to find some people who are trying to sell it between $15 or maybe $10, depending. Now, I also was looking at maybe how much is what people are trying to sell, a copy, let's say, of 464, the second appearance, and the continue of the story in the first part, in 463. Same deal. And then, of course, he would make his third appearance in Batman 306, which I'll actually end up showing because that's what I ended up having to... I ended up scoring off a HipComic, which is that right there. So that is Batman 306, and that's the third appearance of the Black Spider, with the cover drawn by Jim Aparo, and I believe with inking by Tatiana Wood. I hope I pronounced the name again. Someone who's also just recently passed away besides Jerry Conway, who also wrote the story, with the interior art being, I think, was it Jim Coleman? And so again, this is number 306, the third appearance of the Black Spider. Now, I had been looking on eBay for this, seeing what people were pricing it, and again, now you got to watch out. There are two different versions of this book. There's the original here. This is the original DC Comics print from 1979 or 78, I believe it's 1978. But there's also a Whitman variant for this book, which would be at times comes close to being early direct editions, which usually were sold in comic packs at stores, whatever, various stores. And so as I was looking up, Whitman's can be weird. Sometimes they are either considered first prints with the tied for being first prints, but there are some that are considered reprints. So for me, when it comes to this, I want to at least grab an original DC, because there seems to be more value in the DC, the original DC print, rather than in the second Whitman. And the Whitmans usually range between $5 to $10, sometimes 15 if you're noticing. But either way, I decided to shoot in the dark by going to HipComic, and same thing when it came to 463 and 464. Everyone's usually trying to sell them between 15 to $20, sometimes 30. They're usually pricing a little higher. Well, when it came to this one, I came across a shop an online shop which goes by the name Big Ben's Comics, Comics World, whatever. So Big Ben's Comics, which is actually out in Michigan, and it is an actual collectibles store out in Michigan. But they also sell some brand new stuff I've seen and I've noticed. But for their back issues, they tend to really sell on HipComic, and they are selling this for $5, with the shipping being $5.50. Now, the pictures for this book, let's be honest, it's fine, but compared to in person, doesn't do it any justice. This looked really nice. Again, for $5, which is probably the cheapest I'll probably ever going to find this book for to begin with, and thankfully being an original. And sure, there are some defects, but it's still a very nice, sharp book with a lot of good coloring. Still the black shade, because this is a very dark colored book to begin with. It's a very dark colored, so it's usually going to be very accessible to a lot of wear, especially if it's been read a lot. You're going to notice it. So it's very much that type of book. But for $5, even in this condition, with a lot of these defects you kind of see on here, it's very presentable, and I couldn't believe it. And for in this same type of condition online, it's usually between $15 to $20, and some people try to sell this even higher. And so, really, the fact that I can go to I went to HipComic and I was able to score this same book for way less, really does say more about that it is the finally come back around to the title of the video and where you probably want to get the verdict. The verdict is it's actually a combination. It's really all about the price and the condition together. It's not about how much money you're going to blow on a copy, because of the problem is comic book collecting has also been seen as a gambling type of hobby, and I feel like that's really that's when you take the hobby a little bit too insane. What it should be is find the book that you really are searching for. If you definitely want to go finding some books that is on your mind, let's say like that, Batman 306, or how about the next number, 307, the first appearance of Lucas Fox, a character that Morgan Freeman had played in the Christopher Nolan trilogy with Christian Bale as Batman. If you're going to look out, you need to really watch out for the prices, and you have to always check. Thankfully, Big Ben's Comics really tends to price between very much under fair market. Sometimes within the medium of fair market, but it never goes over the fair market value. That's where you really want to go with. But it's also about even the condition. And it's not about, I gotta tell you that you need to get the best condition. What it should be is the condition that you're gonna be happy with paying for. So it's all about what you're happy with rather than what someone's telling you that you're gonna be happy with. So find the book that's gonna be within your what's pleasing to you, and make sure that you're finding it in the price range that you're willing to pay for. If you're willing to find a book like that's $5, and the condition is literally in the condition that you're going to be happy with. This is not about whether or not low grade is better than no grade, or I gotta go always with high grade or whatever. That's probably more closer to a really good, very, very fine mid grade. To the point I would say maybe a 7 or 7.5. But really, it's not so much about how much you're going to grade the book at. It's about what you're going to be happy with, and that's what you're going to spend your money on, and you're going to take it home, and you're going to end up either reading it or just keeping it, because now you have a book that you've at least been going out looking for, and you found it in the condition that you're happy with the price that you are happy to pay for. That is more important, I think, to comic book collecting rather than just the hobby itself, rather than just any keys. You can easily do that, apply that to your way of finding key books. It's all about the price. You don't really have to look for the price that it's usually valid at. You want to go out and look for the price that is at times under it, or to the price that you're going to be happy with paying for. That's, to me, is what matters the most. So hopefully this is at least encouragement to those who's getting into the hobby, and take this as more so collecting advice and run with it. So that's where you want to do. So I might have went into some things I probably didn't really care much about. But either way, the moral of the whole video is get the book that's in your price range, and get the book that is also in the condition that you're going to be happy with. That is what matters. Price and condition together is what matters, not the book or what the big key value is. That's something that's up to you to decide if that means something to you. That's going to be. And so that's where I'm going to end this at. Hope all of you enjoyed, and I'll take care, and I'll see you all again here real soon, maybe with another haul video. Take care.